In this short demo, we will quickly build a city block in 3ds Max using the Greeble modifier. This is a super fast way to create building massing and block out urban form without spending time on detailed modeling. Let's jump in. To begin building our fast procedural city block in 3ds Max, we first need to establish the basic road geometry and site boundary. Start by creating a cross line and a rectangle frame. The rectangle will represent the outer boundary of the city block, and the cross line will define the Main Street axis running through it. Take a moment to adjust the proportions and alignment until the composition feels balanced. It often helps to think about real-world city logic, a primary avenue intersecting a secondary street, for example, or a grid variation inspired by neighborhoods. Set the scale and position carefully because this geometry will control the rest of the model. Once the cross line is ready, make a reference copy of it. This means the new copy will stay linked to the original, which is extremely useful for procedural adjustments later. Name this reference copy street buffer so you can easily recognize its function. Move the street buffer into a new layer to keep the file organized. Clean layer management may feel optional, but it saves significant time as the project becomes more complex. With the street buffer spline selected, apply a spline offset modifier. This modifier helps define the street width automatically by offsetting the original spline. Adjust the offset distance so the street width looks realistic for an urban block, for instance, wide enough for vehicles but not oversized. Make sure to turn off Keep Original Spline. We only want the offset version. Also choose the Open Butt Cap option so the new spline remains open and clean. Now switch back to the main creation panel. Under Geometry, locate Compound Objects. Here we will use a Boolean-style operation to carve the street shape out of the main block. Select Shape Merge or Boolean depending on your workflow preference. First, pick the outer rectangle as the base object, then subtract the offset street spline we just created. This operation cuts the street shape into the rectangle footprint. You should now see a hollow network representing the street corridor inside your urban block. If the street looks misaligned or you want to explore different layouts, simply go back to the original crossline layer, the one called the street driver, and adjust its angle or thickness. Because the buffer and Boolean are based on reference geometry, everything updates automatically. This is the advantage of setting up your scene with reference copies and procedural steps. With the street space defined, make another reference copy of the newly generated block surface and name this one Buildings. This layer will become the building massing. Select the building block surface, then apply a Quadify Mesh modifier. Quadify converts the surface into evenly distributed quad faces, which gives us better modeling control and supports the next procedural step. After quadifying, apply the Retopology modifier. In the Retopology settings, adjust the face density until you have a clean subdivision across the surface, not too dense, not too loose. Ideally, each resulting quad face will represent a potential building footprint. This retopology stage is flexible. You can experiment with different grid densities to generate tall, narrow towers, mid-rise blocks, or a more suburban form. Find a density that suits your design intention. Once the surface looks even and logical, you can now apply Greeble. Greeble is a fast way to generate building massing without manually modeling every block. With the Greeble modifier active, adjust the extrusion height and variation settings so different parcels rise to different heights, mimicking real-world urban form. Some buildings should be taller while others remain lower, giving a varied skyline. Try to keep it subtle at first to maintain a believable scale. To add architectural character, apply a Taper modifier. Taper creates a gentle setback towards the top of each volume, resembling planning envelopes, light access zoning, or modern stepped massing. Adjust the taper amount and curve to taste. The goal is to introduce a realistic building setback instead of straight vertical walls. Next, if you want additional rooftop details, select only the top polygons of each building mass. You can do this by converting to poly temporarily or applying a selection modifier. Then apply another Greeble pass onto the selected tops. This adds rooftop equipment, penthouses, or architectural accents, which increases realism. Again, tweak the values gradually. Small height differences tend to look more believable than big jumps. Finally, we will create pedestrian walkways along the street edges. Make another reference copy of the street base layer. Apply the sweep modifier to this spline and adjust the profile in the sweep settings. This gives you a clean, continuous footpath or sidewalk that follows the curvature of the street. Adjust its thickness, height, and profile shape so it reads as a proper public walkway. You can also change matter.